Okay, if you're not exactly sure where your next sale or your next client is coming from, and it's been a couple of weeks or a couple of months since you've had someone interested in working with you, then I have something for you, because I am very familiar with that sort of feast and famine lifestyle. I'm someone who's lived both the extreme of being like a hustle bro, of doing hardcore sales with a script, problem, agitate, solve, and also someone who's just like relied on referrals and had people just like, if you want me, you want me, not even try to do sales. And both of those extremes led me to burnout. But all along the way, I had this feeling like there's gotta be a better way. There has to be a way to attract my people, have them see my value, and not have to convince or force or sit through long sales cycles. And we just had a weird experience that taught me something really important that I want to give you the hindsight clarity on, because I was asking a lot of the wrong questions when I didn't know where my next client was coming from. And I want to show you some new ways of thinking about it, because for coaches specifically, you know how to enroll people. Like, you literally go to trainings about how to ask good questions to move people into action, to change their life, which is exactly a sales call. So we really shouldn't be having a problem with sales as coaches, but here we are. And if you're watching this video, maybe you do feel like you have a problem with sales. So I'm Hannah, I'm the CEO of Dream Life Consulting, where we help coaches and experts scale their coaching businesses by giving them the tools and processes and mindsets to not only enroll new people, but generate leads consistently and scale in a way that they win their life back. And we do this using our CEO system for client acquisition. If you want to know exactly how the full system works, you can click the link below and watch our CEO system walkthrough. But today I'm going to zero in on sales, because coaches and sales, we got into a very complicated relationship, but it is not our fault. We have just been fed all of this like online sales guru hullabaloo that's making us confused and just forget who we actually are. So I have fallen into some of these other identities, right? Of like the hustle bro or the siesta girl. And in my hustle bro phase, this is when I was reading all of the books about closing and high ticket sales. And I crafted a sales script that made them see their problem, and I agitated it, and I wanted people to cry, and it was all about finding the bleeding neck. And I was doing a lot of like pressure and urgency tactics to help people see the value of starting now with my coaching or with my transformational programs. But I think we all know that that era is over, and everyone has learned those tricks of cart closing or fast action or I'm the only person who's gonna be able to help you. Like, all of that is obviously out of date and not resonating with people. And I'm someone who then swung to the other extreme, and I just, let whatever comes. And I really fell in love with referral conversations, because I just loved that it felt like my people, they get it. There's no objections, there's no script. I'm just like enrolling my people because they came from referrals, or they had been reading my email list for 3 years, or they had enough, exposure to me that after a while they said, all right, I want to try out working with you, Hannah. But I also got burnt out just doing that whole manifesting and letting whatever comes, because those are also painful sales cycles, because they're so long, you don't know what's happening. I was like manually following up with people via email. And so in both of those situations, I really didn't know how I was going to be able to enroll new clients consistently, because the bro side is just like, do more, hire more team, make it more complicated, make it more salesy. And then the siesta girl side is like, just divine timing, just wait for it. But I'm like, I got a credit card bill that I can't just like have sitting here indefinitely, right? So I understand if you have questions about sales, but I was too much in the weeds about like the actual conversation, right? And I realized that was way too late to be thinking about sales. And so if you've seen some of my other videos or you've seen our CEO system, you know I've really embraced not the hustle bro or the siesta girl identity, and not even the identity of a coach, but more so the identity of a CEO. And a CEO is not in the marketing weeds or on sales calls all day just reacting to things. They're much more proactive. And when I positioned myself in my own mind first as a CEO, I did notice the classic mindset game that new questions started to come to my mind. I wasn't just worried about where's the next client coming from, because I saw that there had to be a bigger system for consistency. And so I started asking myself more questions like, well, what do people need to know in order to become my people? Again, if you are someone also who's been just getting people sent to you, referrals or big clients or another company, or you got corporate gigs, then you haven't really had to do sales because you're just like giving people what they want. But when I wanted to move out of that and start to grow my impact and reach more people consistently and not just wait on whatever comes to me, this is when I realized, okay, I'm gonna run out of my people. So how do I create them? Instead of whining about where are they, which I did a lot of, I started asking, okay, well, how do I create them? How do I educate them? And fast forward several months of mental deliberation and working with my business partner, Ore, to crack this code. He's someone who came from outside of the coaching industry and looked what we were doing in the coaching space and was like, yeah, there's a lot more options than just launching or webinars or putting money behind ads. Like, there are ways to actually build a client acquisition system. So this isn't as dramatic and you don't have all these questions all the time, Hannah. But you can't just plug in a sales, strategy from some other industry and have it work with coaching. Coaching is a very delicate thing to sell. And one of the big things that we needed to take into consideration when figuring out how do we make more of our people is that coaching is not for everyone. So we couldn't just blast this to the masses. We couldn't just put ads on it. If you think ads are gonna solve your problem right now, just keep in mind that ads are just an amplifier. So if you're not closing new clients and you think I'm just gonna run ads just run ads, okay, then you're just gonna amplify that problem of still not having clients, but paying for eyeballs that are irrelevant. So what we had to first recognize is that coaching is not for everyone. And so many coaches are out here blasting ads or blasting content or just hosting webinars that anyone can come to. But high ticket coaching, high performance coaching is not for every Tom, Dick, and Harry on the internet with a Wi-Fi or a credit card. High performance coaching needs to be much more targeted when we think about marketing. So the first step was actually training an algorithm and building a system that only connects with high performers. Again, this means you show up, not for everyone, but you show up for the people who are even qualified to become your people. Let's be honest, there are always going to be people who can't afford your services, who don't see your value, who don't want coaching, who want the easy fix. And so let's not waste our time trying to convince those people. Let's focus on the low-hanging fruit, or the people who already are making money in leadership positions. Maybe they've had a coach in the past, and with our connection software, there are literally ways to target high performers, people who have money, who care about investing in themselves. And so that solved the first problem of just getting in front of the right people. Again, let software do this. Don't overcomplicate. How do I get in front of my people? Just start showing up where they're showing up. Again, my CEO video shows you how our system does that. But then the next problem presents itself, which is how do I really show these new people my value without having them have to come to a webinar that's going to be in a month from now and I have to set up a whole bunch of crazy tech that just gives me a headache thinking about a webinar funnel. Okay, I also didn't want to have to wait for them to go take my quiz and go through my email sequence. And I also definitely didn't want to have to wait for them to go run this by HR or think about it for a quarter. I needed a way that people could get indoctrinated, start to see the way that I think about lead generation and sales, and not exchange time for money. Okay, I'm very much a lifestyle person. Even if I do host a webinar, I'm not doing it every single month. I needed something evergreen. And this is where our educational sales assets came into play. And I ended up recording one 50-minute video, just me with a Google document talking about how I help coaches get high ticket clients. And I just started sending that to my new connections. I started sending that out to people who would qualify for what I do. Again, even in my work, I know I work with coaches, but I don't even work with every single type of coach. So I made it a very specific video for the types of people I wanted to work with. And I said throughout the video, if this is not you, perfect. If you do just want to rely on manifestation, end the video now. If you think that you have to have 10 sales calls a week in order to succeed, then go do that, right? I'm like literally disqualifying people throughout this video so that I'm attracting and maintaining only my people. So we get people connected, we send them this evergreen educational sales asset, of course, with permission along the way. And then after that video is when people are invited to apply. Again, we are not just out here booking sales calls for the sake of booking sales calls. We're qualifying people every step of the way and creating our people, those dream clients, the ones who get it, the ones who don't have objections. So that by the time they come to a conversation with me or my team, they literally are pre-sold. And we get to show up as coaches, not as salespeople who have to, okay, meet you where you're at, find all of your problems, okay, now I'm gonna pitch you. No, when we have had people watch this 50-minute evergreen educational sales asset, which again is just a video of you explaining who you are and how your solution works, not gaslighting, not smoke and mirroring, not hiding things like gatekeeping, just truly showing this is what it looks like to work with me. These are the problems that I solve. Here are a couple of clients that I've helped. So that video has people pre-sold. And so we show up to sales conversations, sales calls on our calendar. We still want to have those because it's part of the application process, because I'm still positioning myself to not be working with everyone. And so we have these application calls, which are much more like coaching calls. And our clients tell us this all of that time as well. One of our clients, Amanda, she was posting consistently, positioning herself, showing up, being the expert, giving value, but she hadn't had a client in 9 months. And so we helped her first get the connecting systems, then get that educational sales asset in place. And now she's having the easiest yes calls ever. We call our offer or our sales call an easy yes conversation. And she's someone who's been in business for decades and hadn't figured this out for herself. So don't feel bad. It's not that you're not smart enough or you're not good enough or you need another credential. You just need to think about positioning yourself to have people pre-sold even before you get on the call with them so you can have the easiest calls of your life.
I mean, literally I did what you call a blunt post, one blunt post, put it out there. And it was like, again, the way it was positioned, admittedly, it was a little uncomfortable for me to kind of be so blunt in the messaging, but put it out there. And I've already enrolled 3 clients as a result of it. So it was just interesting to see that these were people who had been in my sphere, if you will.
Yep.
And just with the tweak and how I was communicating, that prompted them to lean in and get on sales calls, and they enrolled. And then the whole thing, I shared that VSL with them from the time that they booked the call before we got on the call. And these were some of the easiest enrollment calls I've ever had in my entire life.
Yes, I love that the educational steps that you're having them take are already showing you, as someone who's had lots of sales calls coming from lots of places in your business, that these are easy yeses once you hone your messaging and move them through the process. Now, if creating an educational evergreen sales asset even feels like I don't even know where I would start with that, well then take the same principles. You want to educate people on your value in an evergreen way. Because with another one of our clients, Sonia, she's also someone who had a really big LinkedIn following. All of her clients were coming from referrals and word of mouth. People knew about her, but she wanted to increase her prices. She wanted to be more in charge of her lead flow, and she wanted to actually be able to predict where is the next client going to come from. So one of the first things we did with Sonia was not even the video. We didn't even do a long video with her. We just optimized her LinkedIn profile to reflect the same principles. Not just what makes her the expert, not just case studies, but position her as someone who is in high demand, who has an application process, who is not for everyone. And you can hear it from Sonia herself. These feel like true coaching relationships just because of how her LinkedIn profile is set up right now.
Now I'm going back to some new amazing clients. And with some of them, I like even before we started coaching, and with every conversation even I have with these new people that I started attracting when I started applying the process of this program, they started sparking ideas in me, new ideas for courses, for concepts, for tools.
And the same thing is true for our client, Felipe. So Felipe actually only just had one client and he was feeling some imposter syndrome. Like, how am I I don't even know. I just think I have to sell more one-on-one sessions. Like, he had a lot of questions about, again, just where's my next client coming from? How do I get people on sales calls? And I again reminded him, you don't just want sales calls. You actually want to be in a league of your own and be high in demand. And he was like, but Hannah, I have one client. What do you mean I'm in high demand? I was like, well, here comes the identity work. Remember, you're a CEO. You're not a desperate coach who's trying to pay their bills this month. You are a CEO who is looking for the right people to partner with you, to join your program, to even help you build your program. And so same thing with Felipe. We optimized his LinkedIn profile, and within a week, he had big tech founders reaching out to him just because of positioning. And then he actually booked calls with them under the idea that this is just a market research call. Again, he was like, I'm learning all of these systems you and Ore are teaching me. I still don't quite exactly know how I want to show up. And so he just started booking market research calls with these founders who found him on LinkedIn and reached out. And these people were literally begging him to pitch him. They even thought that his program was going to be like $60,000. And Felipe came back to me and Ore, and he was like, what is happening? In 1 week, I went from not knowing if I was good enough or if I should go get another coaching certification to tech founders reaching out to me and offering to pay $60,000. And we said, again, it's positioning. Sales is not a problem if you are positioned as exactly what they are looking for. And I ran from this for a long time. I actually tried to position myself as, I'll be the solution. I'll do it for you. I'll be your copywriter. I'll build these systems for you. And even that positioning still had people coming to me and asking me how much is this gonna cost and trying to nickel and dime me and let me think about it in these long sales cycles. And so it's so different when you, first and foremost, let's be honest, it's the energy game. When you decide you are going to show up like the CEO and you aren't feeling bad for yourself that people don't get it, but rather you go to work at thinking about how do I need to show up and educate and indoctrinate these people on what they need to believe, on what they need to see in me. Now, of course, testimonials and your LinkedIn profile and your evergreen sales assets, right? Those are things that are going to take some getting out of your own head, right? Getting to work on some templates or having some help actually getting that out of you. Because again, I did this wrong myself for a long time. I was in my own head thinking, okay, maybe my value that I position out there is just the copywriting. I'm just gonna write content for you. Instead of really thinking like a CEO who asks herself, how do I help these people see what they really need? I was meeting them where they were at before, saying, you think you need social media content, let me do that for you, right? Felipe was like, you think, I just do one-on-one mindset coaching. You think you just need a one-on-one mentor. I'm gonna position myself that way. And that got him one client in 1 year. But positioning himself in a way that has people educated. Again, it's not in some cute tagline like Dream Life is Real Life. It's not in calling yourself a tech founder. It's not those headlines. It's actually optimizing your presence to be seen not as a coach, not as a one-on-one person, not someone with deliverables, but someone who enrolls and has people apply to work with them in the full solution. As the full solution, not as the service provider. Again, you've heard these things, and I want to give you kudos if you're posting regularly and you're thinking about your expertise and you're putting testimonials out there. Remember, your whole goal is to have a conversation with people who you can help. We make it so much more complicated with shiny objects and tech and marketing, but at the end of the day, you really just want to see if you can help people, right? So we had just had a 37K week in new sales, and something really wild happened. It wasn't that it was 37K. We have consistent 20, 30K weeks in our business thanks to our CEO system. But the weird thing is that we had 2 women come in and pay in full. And I talked to a man on a Friday. Throughout our conversation, my goal was to disqualify him. And I couldn't find something specific. I was just like, I don't feel like you totally see this value yet. And he was like, all right, I gotta think about this. And like, that hasn't happened in so long. And that's also why like this video is coming out, because I have this perspective now. I'm like, well, come to find out, he did need to talk to his wife, and he wanted her to work in the business. They wanted to do this program together, but he first wanted to like vet me to see if that was a good decision for them. And he took it to her, and the answer was yes. And this is a huge difference in showing up as a CEO or showing up positioned in a way where you know you are high in demand. You know you are not for everyone. In fact, another woman on my team who sometimes does these conversations said, we're really just looking to see, are you broken enough that we can fix you? Because again, this is not for everyone. I don't want to be taking everyone who just had the idea, maybe I should be a coach someday, and then say, hey, we're going to invest fully in your success. So I actually show up trying to disqualify people every step of our system. Like I said, when we go to connect with people, I don't connect with everyone. When I go to offer our sales assets to people, I don't give it to everyone. After they watch that video, I then ask them to apply so that they are also invested in this process. And it's not me chasing people, do you want this, manually following up or convincing them down the hustle bro path. So they show up to these calls having said yes enough times to me, first of all, that I know those micro agreements in human psychology are in place, that they have opted in and they want this. And so I have what I call sit back energy on enrollment conversations. I'm really looking to see, is this person in a place where I can fix them? And I ask disqualifying questions, right? Like, so why don't you have this all figured out by yourself? Okay, well, you're a smart person. You've seen the video. You could probably go do this yourself, right? And I ask those sort of coaching or leading questions to really understand whether or not this is someone who's going to make a good client. Because again, my goal now as a CEO is not to just get sales, but it is to create ideal clients for myself. And we do disqualify more people than we enroll every week. So we enroll 2 to 3 people every week, but we get 10 to 20 applications every single week. And very few coaches are in that reality. And if you're not there yet, if you don't have that 10 to 20 people coming to you every single week, I need you to act as if, because we know the law of attraction, it is magnetic when you don't need it. Okay, the law of detachment. And it was tricky for me when I had no idea where these people were coming from. But once we got the systems going, and I would literally open up LinkedIn and be like, these are all ideal clients. Okay, they're in front of me. That did help me show up more to say, okay, I'm not for everyone. So you have the choice, right? You can do the siesta girl path of just thinking, okay, I'm gonna make cognitive dissonance. I'm gonna act as if, I'm gonna do the identity work. That totally was part of my strategy, is to just act as if I am high in demand, I am elite, start dressing differently, start talking differently, right? Show up as that expert, but I don't just mean because you posted value on your LinkedIn, right? Show up as the expert who knows I'm not for everyone. I am hand selecting these people. Because you might have had the experience that I've had too, where it's like, if you do just say yes to everyone, or you just let everyone come in and tell you what they want, well, those are very difficult clients to work with. So you don't want to just say yes to everyone. And then on the other side, what the bros would do is say, okay, just get a bunch of leads, get overbooked, have a bunch of sales calls, and then start disqualifying. But again, both of those sides burned me out. So I don't want you to have to do any of those extremes. I want you to find the middle ground, which is what we're talking about here today. How do you start positioning yourself in your identity and in the way that you show up to business to be elite, to be in demand, because the universe and your prospects will respond. And then when you do start having sales conversations, or you do have people show up and want to talk to you about working together, maybe they've seen an evergreen sales asset, maybe they've seen a YouTube video. Hopefully they've seen something about you, so you're not just showing up cold. But I want you to take the energy of disqualification. And this is where we teach our clients, again, yes, Felipe, they want to give you 60K, but can you fulfill on that? Do you want to say yes to that? Or can we create an easier yes for both parties? And I think that these are the questions we need to be asking, right? How do I position myself? How do I make it an easy yes? How do I create my ideal clients? Because they got me a whole lot further than asking myself, where's my next client coming from? How do I get this person in the door? What should I price it as? Are they gonna say yes? Do I need to meditate more? Like all that buzzy stuff now just kind of feels silly because again, I have the hindsight of realizing, well, if you connect with people who actually value coaching and you stop trying to make this for everyone, and then you educate those right people into becoming your people, into having them get it and have some insight into how you think about making solutions, how you work with people, and then you invite them to apply to work with you. Again, not smoke and mirrors, free coaching session, come to my webinar, let me just see if you maybe click on my calendar link at the end of some YouTube video. No, but you actually invite them to apply, and then you show up and you really just assess fit. And you're in that sit back energy of, are you broken enough that I can fix you? Are you someone who's really gonna show up and play full out? Do you need the full transformation? Or could I, from a place of integrity, refer you out to some other Band-Aid solution because that's just what some people are looking for? So elevate your standards, shift your mindset, quit whining about my people, where are they? They don't get it like I did, and start thinking about being proactive, being a CEO, creating a system, having evergreen educational sales assets so that you don't have to worry about sales calls. You just have to worry about qualifying, hand selecting. And I hear over and over with people who join our program, Hannah, this is exactly how I want my sales calls to go. And this is also why I know that this email came the day after an unexpected sales call. And he was like, yes, okay, we're in. I had to think about it for 24 hours. But I know because I wasn't pressuring people, because I didn't have some rigid script, because I was truly coming from like a human psychology perspective, which is coaching. Right? And so I work mostly with coaches, and it always amazes my business partner, Ore, that they literally get on their first call and they get high ticket clients. Now, he and I, because of the bro marketing worlds that we both started in, had to take dozens and dozens of painful sales calls before we got money in the door. And so, Sonia showing up to her first 3 sales calls and getting 3 clients. Caitlin showing up to her first 3 sales calls and getting 3 clients. Felipe showing up to just market research calls and being asked to pitch people. And, Tamika also just hand selecting which sales calls she takes every single month and literally turning up and down the dial. These are, real people. You can go watch the videos. You can go find them on my LinkedIn. And just sharing them as examples of how you can be in the owner's seat. You can be the CEO and a coach and not have to sacrifice your spirituality or your values just to play the sales game that everyone else out here is teaching you to do. I want you to think about get back in your zone of genius. Show up like a coach. So just like you would want a client to maybe take action on working out more consistently, how would you do that, right? You're gonna have to educate them a little bit on the value of working out if they don't already know that. You're gonna have to break it down a little bit and show them exactly how they're gonna fit it into their day, how this is gonna be different. Then you're gonna have to hold them accountable. Like, that's also a sales conversation. Okay, let's break this down. Do you need this? Are you going to be accountable? I even ask people on the call, like, are you coachable? If I don't know. And the favorite question, I don't really pitch on sales calls, but the question that you can borrow that I use is, so should we do this?
I mentioned on the Vortex channel, but I had that win with like on the sales call getting the yes, and that was the first time that happened. So that was really cool. I used your line like, so should we do it? And that worked. I was like, oh my God, that worked.
Amazing.
That was, yeah.
Because again, they've already seen and decided and opted in, thanks to our CEO system and application process, that the only time I lean in or try to pray or, like get something out of people is after an honest coaching conversation, and they are broken enough that I can fix them. And I just say, so should we do it? Yeah. What's the price? And we go from there. And we have 37K weeks and 57K weeks and 74K weeks. And it really just feels like it's rinse and repeat, because I'm not like hyping myself up for sales. I'm just showing up in my zone of genius, talking to educated prospects, making offers, connecting, engaging, educating, and offering. Check out the CEO video and start to think more like a CEO and less like a desperate coach, to make sales feel easier for you this year. And again, explore our other videos so that you can see how to put all of this together for yourself. Cheers to growth.